Your weekend.
It was great.
Good.
I was starting to enjoy some of the things that we've been talking about together.
Okay, great. So today I thought we could kind of talk a little bit more in depth about the things that we talked about last time and maybe start to set up some goals and some strategies on how to meet those.
Well, one of the things we discussed last time was about getting some new transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember we were talking about trying to improve my credit score and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And reducing my debt to income ratio.
Okay. And then I also remember we talked a little bit about budgeting.
But yeah, something I could definitely work on.
Okay. So that's a good start. Maybe we can write down some specifics, and I'm just taking notes so that we can kind of put this all together and come up with some solutions later on in the visit today. So for transportation, what is your goal for that?
Well, my goal is to get a vehicle that's going to, I have 3 kids. So having a way to transport them is going to be really important, having it be safe.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of those vehicles are very costly. So being able to find a vehicle that will meet my needs and be, in my budget
Right.
is going to be difficult.
Okay. So have you thought about how much you might be able to afford as far as a payment?
I'm probably looking around, $300, $350
Okay.
a month.
Okay. All right. So when you talk about strategies for the goals, then we can look at some different ways that we can figure out how that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got room for kids, safety, and affordability. Do you have a date that you're hoping to have this goal kind of accomplished?
2 months.
Okay.
I think that's a fair amount of warning, Do you think you can turn your credit score around in 2 months?
Well, we can talk about some ways that you can improve your credit score. One of the things that we will look at is where you're at right now. So, we can jump right into that goal right now. Do you have an idea of what your credit score is right now?
Well, I hear that, Credit Karma and stuff like that are good ways to look at it, but I also hear that that's not necessarily what other people see. So that's my concern is what am I seeing, what other creditors see when I look at that?
Well, that's something that you could talk to your bank about, or there are options for you to check your credit once a year for free, and there's also various ways to check your score using software programs that you can. Usually they require a subscription, but you can get a trial and then cancel it if you don't want to continue.
Right.
Lenders use different ratios and formulas to come up with a credit score that they use to determine your credit worthiness for the particular type of loan or credit that you're looking at. So it might look different for a car loan versus a home loan versus just a credit card or something like that. But do you have any idea of kind of the range you might fall in?
650.
Okay. And do you have a goal score that you would like to set?
Well, I'd like to be, closer to 700 because I hear that's, a little easier to get the lower percentage rates. 650 you can usually get a loan, but you're going to get the higher interest rate.
Right. Okay.
So.
And then this is. Tell me kind of what timeline you're thinking of. Like I heard you say maybe 2 months when you're looking at purchasing a new vehicle.
Well, I'm just not sure if that's enough to be able to affect a good change in my credit score. I know that those things I think take time.
Sure, they do take time, and that's true, and there's no magic answer for that, unfortunately. But one thing you can do is just set these goals and then continue working towards them, and kind of check and see where you're at these intervals. And you can always, make your decision on maybe purchasing a new vehicle when you feel like you've kind of reached the goal that you want to with your credit score. Okay, so reducing debt to income ratio. Can you tell me a little bit about this goal? Does this have to do with improving your credit score? Is that?
Well, I heard that's one of the factors, and I recently took a new job that gives me more income, so hopefully that'll also help affect that. My credit card debt is a little high. My utilization is a little high, so I'm trying to figure a way to strategically, put some money aside to take care of that, which I think would go into our next topic. So
budgeting, yeah. So one of the things I hear you saying is paying down some of your debt. Okay, credit card debt, other types of debt that you might have. And then, are you using any type of budget right now? Do you have...
I don't have anything in particular. I just kind of have a mental note of what comes and goes, but I understand that's probably not very effective because you're not holding yourself accountable. So.
Sure. Do you check your bank account or?
I check it pretty regularly, at least every couple of days.
Okay. All right. So we've got some information here for goals. Definitely seems like all of them kind of tie together, and I know that that you also have talked a little bit about just kind of being a little bit more secure overall in terms of having enough to pay your bills and then still kind of live or have that kind of discretionary income for things you might want or to build a savings and such. So,
that would definitely, having an additional car payment, whereas my car currently is just paid off.
Okay.
So losing, or I'm worried about my concern is that it fitting into my budget and also towards my future of being able to put money away.
Sure. So is the new car? Remind me, is that more of a want or is that something that you're needing? I think I remember you saying that it's kind of a need.
It's a need. We have a new child, so safety being something more important to me now. And my older car, you either have payments or you have problems. So it's I think that choosing to have a car that's gonna keep its value and also not have to be in the shop every couple of months. Probably a good idea.
Yes, sure. Okay. So it sounds like that's pretty important to you, and that's something that you definitely need to find a way to do. Okay. So as far as some strategies we can talk about just in our future sessions together, we can look at some different methods of budgeting. Is the computer something that you're comfortable with? And
oh yeah, Excel probably would be the best program for that.
Yeah, and there's some software programs you can purchase, or you can set up an Excel document. And I have some resources that I can pass along to you. That's budgeting is something that it'll take a long session to go break that all down. But we can certainly do that, and you can also work on that on your own. But with budgeting, some of the things you might want to consider and kind of gather between now and the time that we sit down to do that is, a list of some copies of your bills so that you kind of know, you can look at them and say, this bill is due on this date and this is kind of the payment. My mortgage is due on this date. And then you can start to kind of plug those things in and get a really realistic idea of what your expenditures are and what your income is. Another thing you might consider as part of the budgeting is tracking your spending. Just, writing down everything that you spend.
Yeah, that's kind of old school, huh? Like a checkbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Yes.
checkbook.
Yes. Just so you kind of, because we can write down and track all of your bills and all of your kind of set expenses. But when it comes to, stopping by the coffee shop, or maybe you go to the mall, sometimes it's harder for us to kind of pay attention to those little
Right.
things here and there.